All right, ladies and gents, welcome to this week's Walk and Talk. And I've got to start by saying I am really annoyed right now, really annoyed because of the breaking news that has just come out today in the UK. Now, I haven't covered this story over the last week apart from just touching upon it because there was so much other things going on over the last week we had to cover. But now I think is the right time to talk about this. And this is what's happened today with the Ukrainian forces going into Russia, and we've just found out that they were using British Challenger 2 tanks and British weapons, and not just that, British trainers who have helped with this, and strategy and intelligence, and it is just unbelievable. And I've got to say, I am not happy about this, and I don't think you should be happy about this either. And I don't mean the fact that Ukraine has gone into Russia, and they're actually doing quite well at the moment on this campaign that they have done in Russia. So I say fair play to the Ukrainians for this, because I've said a lot of the times I have no dog in this fight. Even though people think for some reason I'm pro-Russia, I'm not pro anything. It's two countries on the other side of Europe, has nothing to do with me. We've got big problems already of our own in the UK. That forecast I made years ago actually came true over the last couple of weeks because of what's happening, and now British citizens feel like second-class citizens in their own country. Right, so that's that point. But what is going on right now in Russia, in the Kursk region, I'll talk about that. And that's not what I'm annoyed about. Russia goes into Ukraine, now Ukraine is going into Russia. It's a conflict, it's a war. But what I'm not happy about, and I think we should all write to our MPs, politicians, do whatever we have to do to say that we need to stop this right now. All of these British tanks, British equipment, British weapons, British military advisors, British troops who are doing this, and they're inside Russia right now. Do you realize how dangerous this is if you are British? It is incredibly dangerous. Putin, whatever you think of him, whether you think he's a genius or a madman, he is not going to stand for that. And the response against the British people at some point, whether it comes next week or in 10 years' time, is going to be absolutely brutal. Even though, who has voted for this? No one has voted for this. These small handful of politicians, now under the Labour government, seems to be doing even more than the Conservatives. They're making it even worse. And I hear people saying, oh yes, we're helping to give it to Putin. No, you're not helping to do anything. The politicians are doing this for us on our behalf, and we don't want it done. They are going to get us into either World War III with Russia and the Axis powers, which, by the way, I keep seeing all these people and analysts even saying how, oh, NATO would annihilate the Axis powers. We'd walk all over them. Are you feeling okay? Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, the Middle Eastern countries, all sorts of nations could get pulled into this. It would not be a walkover, let me tell you. It would be just the end of everything if it became all-out warfare. So you've got all these goody-goodies and warmongering for this stuff. It really annoys me. And now I've got to the point, every time I hear someone saying, especially if they're, you know, sort of person that couldn't even do push-ups, saying, oh, we just did this, we just did that, we annihilated. Oh, I'm always just looking at them thinking, you did absolutely nothing. Or even worse, when they say, oh, I'm going to get on the front line, I'm going to give it to those Russians. I'm thinking, dude, you couldn't even probably hold a weapon more than 5 minutes without your arms getting tired, and you couldn't even jog more than a few minutes, and you're going to go against these Russian troops who are pretty fit and strong. I don't think so. And just a quick reminder, you have now got 3 days left on the money psychology and the stock market program before the price goes up. This is the lowest price you will ever see on these programs. I just put them on sale to coincide with the launch of the cash flow course. So if you're either trusting your pension to I don't know who, and it's not doing as well as you would like, or you're concerned about it, you can take the macro and stock market course. And if you haven't got enough money in your life to do the things you want and enough freedom, you can look at the psychology course or do the new cash flow course. Whoa! Oh, the wind, gosh. So the link will be below in the description, and just grab that program now. All right. Now also remember that Ukraine has got backup now by F-16s, which is basically flying death. If you are in the path of these F-16s, any Russian troops, any military equipment, it's game over. These things are just super, super advanced fighter jets. They really are. So there's a lot of these coming in. They're already, Ukraine's already got a lot of them, and they're using them now. They've been trained again by Western instructors. Again, nothing against that. I've had nothing against all of this from the start, but now I'm not happy that all of these British tanks and weapons and everything else is being used against Russia inside Russia. That is pulling us into the conflict as if we weren't pulled in enough already. And in Kursk, I've got to say, the Ukrainians are doing an amazing job. They really are. And of course, they're backed up by NATO massively. They're sending in hundreds of drones a day at the minute, which is causing a lot of issues for Russia. Russia even said, and this is, you know, one thing I do respect about the Russian Ministry of Defense, is that they actually admit, they say, we're caught completely off guard. They have taken all this land. They actually admit to what's going on. And I know there's a lot of speculation on either side, like, how on earth did Ukraine, how did they just take the region so easily? And even the troops said there was no resistance. We just rolled straight in. Well, Zelensky's actually said that they sent in their best troops. So I think it was 2 battalions, he said, of their absolute best troops, fully backed by NATO, and they sent drones and all sorts of equipment beforehand to actually strike targets. So I think that's how, I don't think there's some sort of conspiracy here, which I've seen a lot of people talking about. I think that's how it's been done so easily. And just to prove to you that what Russia has actually said about this, they said they acknowledge Ukraine's success. The Zelensky regime has made a strong move with all the resulting not very pleasant conclusions and consequences for our side. If you are dealing with a strong adversary, you must be prepared for the fact that from time to time, they will make strong and unexpected moves that will catch you off guard. However, on the flip side, they've said that some of the advancements have been exaggerated by Ukraine. They said they're not holding 1,000 kilometers of land, they're holding about half that amount, but they say they're going to push them back and out. Now, what's interesting is, you think during World War II, when Hitler sent in 1 million German soldiers into Russia, and they were really halted by the winter, and they got cut off, and their supply lines and all that sort of stuff. We won't go into the whole history lesson here, but it is interesting to me that 1,000 troops have done this amount of damage, and they seem to be holding the ground quite well. But another thing that we've got to talk about here is this leaked Russian document. It was leaked to the Financial Times, and it covers the period from 2008 to 2014. And it said that Russia, it shows the strategy and the plan they said they'll use if they get into a major war with NATO, basically. And this has been verified, this document. Lots of military and analysts have looked this over now. They've verified it's a document from Russia. And everyone's pretty concerned by this document because it actually shows what we've been talking about from the start, that Putin said he would launch all these nukes on, you know, Europe, basically. And people say, oh no, that would never happen. He'd never launch like that because it would be, because NATO would launch back at them, and, you know, it would be the end of everything. Well, I'd say don't underestimate Putin and don't underestimate the severity of this situation. And in related news, remember the Nord Stream pipeline that we talked about that got blown up? In fact, that was a massive viral video of mine that I made there. Well, we've now got this that I say breaking, it's not really on many news channels here. Germany has issued an arrest warrant for a Ukrainian diving instructor, and they believe that he was involved in the blowing up of Nord Stream. But when Polish officers, because he was in Poland, went to his home in early July to arrest him, he'd already fled the country, and they believe that he was possibly tipped off. Now, according to the full investigation here, his name Volodymyr Z, he was part of a team of experienced Ukrainian divers who in September 2022 hired a German yacht, sailed out into the Baltic Sea and planted the explosives, blowing up 3 of the 4 Nord Stream pipelines. So this is what the investigation has now reached a conclusion of. Now, it's funny that all the other countries that were doing their investigations, they closed theirs, insufficient evidence, we just couldn't figure it out. So it's very interesting that Germany have gone all the way with this, and now they are saying that it was a Ukrainian that did it. And talking of Poland, they have just ramped up their trench warfare program. And what they've actually talked about is they've said that even though they thought trench warfare was just outdated and old-fashioned now, they've realized that they need to bring it back. The Polish 17th Mechanized Brigade has engaged in extensive trench combat exercises, which now features enhanced facilities designed to stimulate modern battlefield conditions. The training includes the use of drones and updated infrastructure such as zigzag trenches to closely replicate wartime scenarios and improve soldier preparedness for the coming combat challenges. And I've got to say, I'm still amazed every single day when I just hear all these political commentators, the media, people in the street. I'm just amazed by these conversations I keep hearing. People don't believe that we are going into a war. They just don't believe it. They think that this is all going to be over soon. Russia-Ukraine's going to be over. Israel and Iran and Lebanon and all the others, that's going to be, I mean, it's all just going to end. Doesn't really affect us in any way. People have buried their head in the sand. They don't see what's coming. I don't know if it's the last few years with COVID and everything and the lockdowns and everything else that happened. I don't know if people have just lost it, but it's obvious what's going on. And you look at what's been happening in the UK over the last 2 weeks now, and all of these new laws around freedom of speech and posting online and prison sentences for making a post on Facebook and everything else. It is scary, ladies and gents. And I always get the question, people always ask me, you know, what can I do to prepare? What are you doing to prepare? And it's the same thing that I've said before. Make sure your income isn't just relying on one 9-to-5 job. That's really important. Generate your own income. You can take my new program to help you with that. Make sure your mindset is right and your psychology is right. Don't get sort of swept up in all of this stuff. Make sure you de-risk yourself as much as possible. If you have a job where you can work online, whether that's admin or you're an entrepreneur or something, get yourself one of these visas that there are all around the world. They're not even expensive. I've recommended the Thailand DTV a few times. It's a couple £100, $300, gives you 5 years in Thailand. There's one for Japan, there's one for, I mean, there's loads of these countries. You just got to do your research on it. I'll probably make a post in the Patreon and put all the different countries and stuff so you can see at some point. My point with all of this is you don't need to get these visas to go anywhere. It's just to have something as a backup, or to have it for if you've got children who are, you know, draft age and stuff like that. This stuff is coming. You know, just look at these forecasts I've made for the last almost 5 years now. If you go back and you think of some of the crazy things I said that have happened, and then you start thinking about what I'm saying now is going to happen, you know, I'm worried. That's why I've got these plans in place. And remember, just lastly, that the psychology course, the stock market course, the big sale ends in 3 days. So that's all you've got left. If you're going to get the courses, get them in the next 3 days. All right. Thanks for being online. Take care. God bless. And I'll see you next time.